This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. What an interesting weekend for the New York Yankees. We honestly went from dreadful, drudgery, dull, waiting for Cody Bellinger to possibilities opening up across the landscape of potential Yankees offseason additions, including Cody Bellinger. I'm not cutting that one off. I don't think anybody is. The rare, clear public negotiating tactic that it seems like nobody fell for, but we do have to at least have the conversation about whether or not the Yankees are done. I like it. I like the behavior. We'll get into this, of course, but Saturday night changed the calculus of the Yankees offseason when they made their line in the sand on Bellinger public and when Alex Bregman went to the Chicago Cubs and defected from the Boston Red Sox, leaving the Boston Red Sox with even fewer avenues for improvement than the Yankees have. Whether you believe in the Yankees offseason or not, whether you think they're going to take strides or you think they're going to stay in stasis mode, the bottom line is they have options now. Again, including the guy who they were apparently waiting around for until now. Argue with it. I mean, I can argue with the timing. The bullpen pieces I wanted are gone. They're not coming back. But the Yankees can still have themselves an offseason. It seemed like a depressing weekend. And it was in many ways. Bob Weir died. The Yankees maybe not getting Cody Bellinger. The Yankees maybe not trying. The Yankees in on Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette. That sounds like a lie. But as the sun rises on Monday, we have plenty more to talk about. And also the Eagles lost, and also Alex Bregman not going back to Boston. Some sad tweets from some sad guys over there. Jared Carabas reaping what he sowed, posting on threads that he doesn't understand why he's the guy who has to answer to all the sad Red Sox fans when the Red Sox don't do anything. Not realizing that he was as obnoxious as it's humanly possible to the New York Yankees and their fans during the bad times for the Yankees. So sometimes, again, you reap what you sow. If you are the worst person to another fan base, when bad stuff happens to your fan base, people want to go to you. You've made yourself a public figure. You got to lie in that bed. When bad stuff happens to the New York Yankees, you can find us here on the Yanks Go Yard podcast. Nothing good has happened to them since the end of the season, basically. But this weekend gave us avenues for improvement, or at least food for thought, topics of discussion. I'm interested. I'm locked in. Let's roll. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the show. Again, no matter what happens from here, could be Cody Bellinger, could be nothing. But finally, the Yankees have opened up some interesting doors.
Yeah, they have. I'm predicting nothing, though. I don't know how this has all reached the point that it has, with all these players having limited markets but having very specific demands. I mean, hey, chase what you want, chase what you're looking for. I understand that there is kind of a last chance for someone like Cody Bellinger, someone like Alex Bregman to get the money that they wanted, but I don't know on what planet the deals are going to go in excess of 5-6 years and at these crazy AAVs. So the Yankees situation with Bellinger has been pretty, I think, expected. You kind of knew dealing with Scott Boras this offseason that there was no chance of a discount of sorts, whatever that may have been. Bellinger's dad previously playing for the Yankees, Bellinger enjoying being in the New York spotlight, playing alongside Aaron Judge. That is just not how business is conducted nowadays. So now it comes down to the public war of the words to see who is going to come out on top. And I honestly have no idea who will, because I don't know if there are lurking suitors for Bellinger. I don't know if this is all just a ploy by Scott Boras to get the Yankees to kick in more, whether it's years or whether it's money. I really am confused by the entire thing, because I don't know what other teams are out there looking at Bellinger and possibly have comparable offers to the Yankees. I'm not saying the Yankees are, gold star students in free agency. We know that they play a tough game, specifically with higher end clients. They try to get their way constantly, but I don't know how this is coming together the way that it is. I don't know who's out there looking for Bellinger. I guess the Mets could still be involved, but I feel like we've heard less and less with that. I feel like if the Dodgers are going for an outfielder, it's going to be Kyle Tucker on that short-term deal. And I just don't know. The fact that Boras has had the success of getting his clients these, pillow contracts before they re-enter free agency again to get what they want, kind of, I guess, has me a little bit not worried, but just seems like Bellinger might get what he get. Boras just did this the last 2 off seasons with Bregman and with Blake Snell. So I really don't know, and I'm sure there's somebody else out there he's done this with recently. But yeah, it seems like it's reaching the worst possible point for Bellinger and the Yankees, and not really sure where we go from here.
It's got my brain turning though. Here's where I'm at, and it's got you close reading like an English major, right? You're reading every line of the article and trying to figure out what's going on. It was a Buster Olney column on Saturday night that really set this off. The last time we talked, we had the supposed 36-37 mil a year request. We had the Yankees putting out that they had an offer over 30 mil AAV, and he'd be either the 4th or 5th highest paid outfielder in terms of individual average annual value. And we said, okay, one of two things. Either this is getting really close and numbers are just leaking because it's close to finished, or the Yankees are fed up and numbers are leaking because they are, I don't know if it's ready to move on is the right way to categorize it, or want fans to, it's something more than wanting fans to know they tried, because Cody Bellinger isn't Yamamoto and isn't Juan Soto, where we didn't believe them that he was their top priority or that he's this make or break offseason. Everybody wants Cody Bellinger back. And I honestly, that's overstating it. If you look at the comment section, you look at anybody, I think the discourse is very much split 50-50 right now at best on, do we even want him back at the rumored offer? But when that money comes out, either they're close or the Yankees are basically saying, we're done with Scott Boras. This is infuriating. This is a take it or leave it offer. And then after the dust settles, where we were. So you can't say that we were pretending we were in and we were actually out, or we were, just absolutely not touching the top luxury tax number this year. $30 million on the table for Cody Bellinger over a 5-year period if he wants it. Bob Nightingale today said it's worth between $155 and $160. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
The Buster Olney piece came out Saturday night and said, notably, that the Yankees were expecting Bellinger to sign elsewhere, which is the exact language used in the Pete Alonso report last year that the Mets put out to Randy Martino, saying it was mid-January, I believe January 16th, saying, we expect Alonso to go elsewhere, knowing that Alonso didn't have a market. Seattle want to pony up. Is Seattle going over 3 years? Who wants a first baseman? Where does Pete Alonso fit better than he fits with the Mets? Apparently Baltimore. But at that point, it seemed like nobody. And ultimately, he walks back to the Mets, gets this short-term deal. So at no point in reading this story do I think that the Yankees are out on Cody Bellinger. And you'll look at people on Twitter operating as if the Yankees are out on Cody Bellinger right now. And I think if he does return to the Yankees, you're going to have a lot of people who do not like the Yankees being like, what the hell? The Yankees get all the breaks. I thought they're out on him. How's he back here? What's going on? I think they're still in, but I do think they're getting to a point of frustration, a breaking point. And I don't think they're going above this current offer. And your natural reaction to thinking all of that about, okay, are they done or are they not? It sounds like they're not, but they're cutting off. They're not bringing this offer up. They're making Scott Boras stare at it in the public sphere and either take it or leave it, or wait longer, at which point they might pull it. It's hard not to think there are only 3 options on the table, and it changes a little bit after Bregman gets paid, after Boras gets Bregman paid. But it doesn't change that much because the Red Sox wouldn't give him a no trade. And the Red Sox also weren't the top dollar number. They got outbid by the Cubs. There's intel, AJ Brzezinski talking about foul territory today indicates that the Red Sox didn't believe they'd been outbid. And Boris's camp was telling them, we have a higher offer and we're going to sign. And that's when they scrambled up to 165. And then Bregman and Boras were like, you're still not the high bid guys. And that's when they left to the Cubs officially after Fenway Fest, which wasn't cool. It should have been during Fenway Fest. That would have been hilarious. But 3 things still on the table, I think. One is that the Yankees have the highest offer for Bellinger throughout, and no one ever tops this. And it's 155 or 160. And time goes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and Scott Boras doesn't get what he wants, and that's the highest offer. 2, somebody can come in at 5 and top that AAV and take it. They're claiming they want 7, right? I do think, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's impossible someone outbids the Yankees 5-year offer, but I think that's the best they're going to do. A more expensive, juicier 5-year offer after the Bregman deal. Maybe you can get it up to the AAV you want over 5. Maybe you can get some deferrals in there, which I don't think the Yankees really want to do. I don't think anyone's going to 6. I don't think anyone's going to 7. But I think there's a chance that someone sticks at 5 and overpays. But it would be someone who we haven't heard from yet. Like the Padres or the Angels or the Giants or a mystery team. I don't think it's the Blue Jays. I don't think it's the Mets, who don't want to go long-term on anybody, but are in the Kyle Tucker mix. The Dodgers, who don't want to go long-term on anybody. And then the third option is that it's all spite. Like it's the Larry David principle. What did Larry David know about opening a coffee shop when he opened up the spite store? Absolutely nothing. But he wanted to bother his enemy. And so he spited him by opening up an identical coffee shop next door. There's a chance this offer is not on the table anymore. So if we're talking about who's going to outbid the Yankees offer, there's a chance this offer doesn't exist anymore. That's why we're finding out about it. That's why it's like, it wouldn't be a breaking point if this was still the offer, because I think this is going to be the highest offer. But there's a chance this offer is no longer available. And there's a chance Scott Boras and Cody Bellinger are so frustrated that they take a worse offer. Why would they do that with so much uncertainty, with so much labor unrest? Spite. Like they wouldn't unless they were feeling spiteful towards the Yankees, or if this offer was no longer available to them. So like you said, I don't think there's like, if there's one thing that we now, I feel like should have known all along, but now definitely know, this BS about how Cody Bellinger loved putting on the pinstripes. It was going to be an easier re-sign because of his dad, or, Juan Soto was the guy who wanted money, but Bellinger is the guy who really wants to be here. I think you could put that to bed now. Not that he didn't like being here, but he also wanted money. Most people do want money. And if you have Scott Boras as your agent, you want money. I don't know if this offer is getting topped. If it does, God bless. It would require a Yankees pivot after that. It might be too late to pivot, but I'm still team don't go crazy on Cody Bellinger. And I hate to sound like the reporter in Jacksonville after the Liam Cohen playoff loss, but like, good job, Brian Cashman. I'm not being objective here. I think this is a good move. Waiting out the market this way. I think it's a good move. Congratulations. Keep your head up. I think you played the Bellinger thing right, but I don't know where the hell he's going.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good move in the sense that the Yankees aren't, shadow bidding against themselves or bidding against an imaginary offer that Scott.
The number of people online who I've seen just keep saying that, like, well, why wouldn't they go to 6 or 7? It's not my money. Just go. It's like, that's how you get DJ LeMahieu for 6 years.
Yeah.
Some people never learn.
And there's arguments to all sides here. Like, you want the Yankees to go above and beyond because they need to make their team better. They need to surround Aaron Judge with talent to maximize whatever's left of this window. That said, when you're overextending yourselves with riskier or poor investments, and that's how you get in even more trouble, which is why we always are beating the drum for the perfect fit candidates, which is where you pay that extra $50 million or give those extra 2 years. And the Yankees don't even do that with those players. They do it with more questionable fits or less expensive fits that still end up handicapping them financially in some respect. I think the Alex Bregman deal might have changed things because Bregman is entering his age 32 season, whereas Bellinger's entering his age 30. Bregman, essentially, if you count the Red Sox deal last offseason, just got 6 years for $215 million. I think I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think Cody Bellinger is better than Alex Bregman.
It's a semi-hot take, but
yeah.
I think more versatile, younger, better fit for Yankee Stadium. I think Alex Bregman, let's see how overblown the clubhouse stuff is, because I think the stuff about Boston thinking he was genuinely coming back until he didn't come back and being sad and disappointed is very funny to me. But as the comments are saying, we all know that as the Red Sox rosters get worse, they actually get better. So Nate Eaton will end up having Alex Bregman season, and you won't miss him at all. But we'll see if the clubhouse leadership stuff is overblown, underblown, accurate, because he could make a real difference in Chicago in that way.
Absolutely. And I think that maybe those intangibles weigh more in the contract negotiations, but we've also heard nothing but good things about Bellinger on that front and how he's influential among the veterans and the younger players. And you saw him interview with the media last year and get up at the podium. He was good. And that's the kind of presence you need in New York. But when I look at Alex Bregman and Cody Bellinger just in a vacuum, very similar career paths. Like neither have returned or will probably come close to returning their success in the early days. Bellinger, former MVP and Rookie of the Year, that was derailed seemingly by a shoulder injury suffered in the 2020 playoffs, which we've alluded to. Alex Bregman's best 3 years happened during the Astros cheating scandal from 2017 to 2019. And we've seen a noticeable dip after those 3 years, after whatever they had stopped doing, or again, Bregman entered his mid to late 20s and naturally play can stagnate or decline. Bregman's availability, he's had a couple of injury shortened seasons over the last 6 years. So I still think he's a good player, but you also look at his track record, and he's only played in hitter-friendly parks from a team standpoint. He was with the Astros, which is incredibly favorable for right-handed hitters, and then he smartly signed with the Red Sox, which is also a park that's friendly for right-handed hitters. So I don't think that Bregman is necessarily not a fit in a different ballpark, but we just don't have evidence of that. So we don't know. We don't have evidence of that on a larger scale. Like, yes, he plays half of his games outside of, Daikin Park. And
yeah, I don't know if it was Daikin when he was there, but let's call it Daikin.
Minute Maid. I know he plays, but there's also, you play 81 games away from your home park every year, and there's a mix of hitter friendly and pitcher friendly. So we could dive through the splits if we really wanted to, but I think when the majority of the body of the work that you've done is in a hitter friendly park, it's a little bit harder to justify from a front office standpoint when you're maybe one piece away or when you're looking for a more multifaceted player. Bellinger has played at Dodger Stadium, not a hitter-friendly park. Wrigley Field, not a hitter-friendly park. So, and we've seen success from him in both of those. And then obviously he was very good in Yankee Stadium, which is even better for his argument to re-sign with New York. So I am not surprised here that maybe Boras was waiting it out to see what Bregman got, and maybe now he's no longer waiting for Tucker, because the argument, you could make an argument side by side, Bregman versus Bellinger. Bregman, good veteran third baseman, Gold Glover as recently as 2024, power hitter. Again, like, stats aren't crazy. 846 OPS for his career, 132 OPS plus for his career. That's very similar to Bellinger's numbers. Let me just pull those up real quick because I always forget. I used to have these memorized, but Bellinger's 817 and 120. So I think again, Bregman has the edge there from playing in hitter-friendly parks. I know OPS plus is adjusted as well, but when you're slugging home runs in hitter-friendly parks, it's just going to elevate the numbers naturally. And then you bring in to the discussion Bellinger's left-handedness, the fact that he could play 4 positions if you need him to. In this current market, if you were to approach me without me knowing what Aaron Judge's contract is, and you said Cody Bellinger 5 for 175, I'd say, I don't know if I can argue with that. Do I want to do that? I don't know. Are the Yankees going to cry about spending that much money? If they are, then no, I don't want to do that. If they are going to say, we don't care for the time being, we're going to sign Bellinger and we'll figure it out later, whether that's shedding other unwanted salary or just adding other pieces, maybe trading a lot of prospects for talent that can help them within the next 1 to 2 years, then great. Like, I would do it. But at this rate, like, there's no sense in going above and beyond what you have already presented to Bellinger. I think another noticeable difference here is that, yes, Alex Bregman got 5 for 175, simply because he has never had a 2-year stretch that Bellinger had when Bellinger was dealing with the shoulder issue or whatever it was. 2021 and 2022 are a noticeable black cloud over Cody Bellinger's career. And I don't view it that way because I've watched a lot of Cody Bellinger over the last 10 years, so I know who he is. But when you're negotiating, you're going to allude to, well, what about these concerns? What if this happens again? What if he does suffer a nagging shoulder or arm injury and then we're back to -1 WAR player? I don't think that's going to happen, but if you're all is fair in negotiating, right? Scott Boras can sit there and say, well, my client 8.7 WAR in 2019, MVP candidate, former rookie of the year. This guy's got everything. And he's kind of returned to those levels 2 out of the last 3 years when he's averaged a 5 WAR in 2023 and 2025 with the Cubs and the Yankees. But in between, he had another down year in 2024. So it's the arguments are all there. At this rate, I just don't know. It could be now a spite game. We've seen how this happens with other free agents and teams when they don't get what they want. They just move on and start talking to whoever else is available. I don't know if the Dodgers would be a fit here. I think we're forgetting about the Phillies. I really do. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that they're like a top candidate that the Yankees should be worried about, but like if Bellinger is going to defect, why would you not go to Philly where they're going to have an outfield vacancy and where Dave Dombrowski's kind of not afraid to spend, and maybe they give him a beautiful 5-year offer upwards of $200 million where the Yankees maybe weren't willing to go. I literally don't know, but at this rate, the Yankees better have something else up their sleeve because it's not looking good if this is going to drag on any longer. And the more that they stay inactive, the greater chance they have of going into next season with that. They'll be running it back less. They'll be running it back with a worse team. And we thought running it back with Bellinger in the fold was not going to be great. So imagine what this is going to look like.
Yeah, my darkest opinion, and I don't even want to vocalize it really, but it's almost impossible. After the Trent Grisham qualifying offer, it became almost impossible to justify running Jason Domínguez out and ignoring Bellinger entirely and all that stuff. But I do think it has the potential to be toxic and dangerous to just run Jason Domínguez out of town. To just be like, we can do Bellinger for 5. We figured out, and we'll flip Jason Domínguez for, I don't know, some shit. And then, we'll get a reliever in here. We'll get a number 5 starter. Like, I do think it's maybe not the best idea to just be like, well, this is easy. We'll do Bellinger, and then we'll flip Jason Domínguez. For what? I don't care. Get him out of here. Like, I think that is also a mistake waiting to happen. I think odds are higher that you look back and go, I kind of wish we'd given Jason Domínguez a real shot. Then you go, I'm really glad we got what we got for Jason Domínguez in the building. Who cares about whatever he does is gravy elsewhere, but I'm glad we got the return in the building. I feel like it's silly to discard him, but it is also silly to glue yourself to Trent Grisham and then operate the rest of the offseason that way. There may come a time when we don't regret Trent Grisham taking that money. Right now, it's hard to put together a full offseason, and I can't sort of escape the part of my mind that wants to give Jason Domínguez a chance. But then when the curtain rises on opening day, Yankee fans will be very cruel to an outfield that is Jason Domínguez, Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge. So I also understand needing to pursue other options. Once the annual numbers came out in the Bellinger offer, you had, of course, everyone saying, well, if you're willing to go that far for an outfielder, why wouldn't you go that far for Kyle Tucker? Of course, they were only willing to go to 5 years on Bellinger at that price, would have to go to 7 for Tucker probably, and would also have to pay more per year. So I hear you, but that is a different stratosphere and a different circumstance. 5 years of Bellinger at 31 per. Why wouldn't you just pivot to Tucker? That's 8 at 34 per, probably. It's not $400 million, but it's more million for more years. And I think they've been telling you for a long time that they don't really value him in that way. If they value him at all, it's no coincidence that Joel Sherman was the one to question his care level and dedication.
And what's even his market right now? They reported last night that he met with the Phillies, Mets, and Dodgers, and it's like
Blue Jays.
I'm sorry, Blue Jays, Dodgers, and Mets, and the Blue Jays have been there since the beginning. So
and those three forever.
Yeah, you're just wondering has there even been an offer? Or are they just talking about concepts of what might be possible for them? Because I think all of those teams there's a convoluted payroll situation, right? And they're probably looking at it through the lens of, hey, we got a lot of money on the books. We can't go too much higher. We definitely can't leverage ourselves any further, but you want to be on a World Series contender, do you not? So what can we work out here? How far are you willing to bend? And I don't know all of those teams, I mean, at least the Mets and the Dodgers have made it clear that they're probably not willing to commit long-term to anybody else just at this rate because they already have Ohtani. They already have Yamamoto. They already have Betts. They got Freddie Freeman for 3 more seasons.
Yeah.
They have Blake Snell for 4 more. They have Tyler Glass now for 2 more. They have Tommy Edman for 4 more. The list goes on. It's a stacked payroll. They have Will Smith for 9 more. So I just don't see them adding another 7 to 10 year contract. The Mets, I think, have made it fairly clear that they are not doing anything longer term unless it's like the absolute perfect scenario. And I don't think Kyle Tucker is that. And then you look at the Blue Jays, who have blown almost everybody away this offseason with what they've done. And I know they have some money coming off the books in the next couple of years, but they're also going to need to replace those players in some capacity. So that's going to be added salary. And if you're talking about adding Kyle Tucker on this hypothetical $400 million deal, I just don't know how that fits into the long-term picture. So again, what is Kyle Tucker's market? I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I laughed really hard too. There was like a Mets content creator that was going around trying to act like he had sources, and he was like, I have it on good authority that Steve Cohen has given David Stearns the go-ahead on Tucker to do whatever he needs and whatever he wants. And it's like, Stearns is the one who doesn't want to go long. You know that, right? Like Steve Cohen has finally given David Stearns permission to give Kyle Tucker a 9-year contract. No, I don't think that's how it works. I think David Stearns is the one who's like, hold the phone here. Are we sure we want to do this? It came up. The Buster Olney article is an interesting historical document. The part, of course, that feels like absolutely nothing is the part that's like, well, the Yankees are moving on from Cody Bellinger and assuming he's going to sign elsewhere. And here are their pivots. They're interested in Kyle Tucker and they're interested in Bo Bichette. And I don't believe that for one fucking second, but maybe they entertain Kyle Tucker. Again, fans are like, if you're willing to shell out that much money for an outfielder, then why not Tucker? They have told you for months, why not Tucker? They don't appear to be involved there at all, and I doubt they hop in at this point in time. Bo Bichette, imperfect fit on the roster, and he wants $300 million. Can he be talked down from that? I guess, but no reason for him to cower from that ask, at least until he meets with the Phillies and sees how far they're willing to go with Don Mattingly in the bench coach role. That's today. It's a virtual meeting, apparently. So, I mean, Bo Bichette, if you do acquire him, could play shortstop in Anthony Volpe's absence, could play shortstop the whole year if you just want to be that guy and say, sorry, Anthony, welcome you back in June. You are not our starting shortstop. That's really the only way he fits. If you view him as a second baseman, you got to trade Jazz Chisholm because I'm not sending him back to third base. Sorry.
No.
I've got I'm not saying Ryan McMahon is undisplaceable, but Jazz Chisholm at third base last year was whack. And it was something we did out of necessity in 2024 because
he didn't like it.
You wouldn't move Gleyber Torres, and he didn't like it. And he shuffled there a few times for DJ LeMahieu last year. And by the way, the people who want to bid 7 on Bellinger right now, you're asking for that again. You're asking for a Cody Bellinger who can't be moved off of first base in 7 years, despite a superior option being in the minors or on the roster and moving players out of position. That's what you're begging for when you're saying just go crazy. Make sure you don't lose Bellinger at all costs. I'm not interested in trading Jazz. I'm not interested in moving Jazz. I'm not interested in, again, it has nothing to do with Ryan McMahon. I could upgrade if you really wanted me to upgrade on Ryan McMahon, fine. But he is here for the next 2 years at not $0. I would rather if they do get Bichette on a contract that is going to be 7 or 8 years in length and a contract that is going to be $250 million, that's just market for him. I'm not saying that's an overpay, underpay. I'm just saying it's going to be in that range. You should just play him at shortstop, and then next year you can reevaluate, but maybe he stays there. Maybe Anthony Volpe goes to second base if he shows you something in the back half of this year. But guess what? I don't even need to be doing this. I don't need to be moving chess pieces around. I don't need to figure out where Bo Bichette fits on the Yankees. Because Bo Bichette is not going to the Yankees.
He's not. Jack Curry said he's not. I think even Michael Kay was not like laughing at it, but he was talking to Joel Sherman and John Heyman about it, and he was just like, I don't see that at all. I don't understand why that's being said outside of, again, him being a big name and the Yankees being a big team. And Bichette, again, the Yankees are not paying the price for Bichette. Don't get me wrong. And someone as young as Bichette, he's entering his age 28 season, coming off, again, a good year. Was it spectacular? Not exactly. I mean, he had a 3.5 WAR, absolutely solid. He hasn't been an all-star in 2 years. 2024 was a terrible campaign for him. He was injured, missed half the thing, and was a negative WAR player because of how limited he was and how unproductive he was when he was actually on the field. But at that young age, that I understand Bellinger entered the market at a similar time as well, but Bellinger was also coming off of 2 years that were objectionable. Bo Bichette is not, like, one of the years was objectionable for Bichette, but he quickly rebounded and showed us that he's a key player, key star player on a very good team, and 2, a postseason performer with the manner in which he was able to deliver. And also, I think, receptive and versatile. He was willing to move off of shortstop for the Blue Jays to make the situation better for that team. And I think that might go a long way when other suitors are looking to fit a player of his caliber into the picture. It's hard to determine a fit for him, though, because of the declining ability at shortstop and is it an awkward fit at second base? I don't know. There's the non-existent fit at third base where people just think, oh, shortstop, aging out of the position. Third baseman now. No, I mean, maybe. I'm not ruling it out, but not when you're talking about a $300 million contract. You're not just guaranteeing that this man is going to switch to another really hard position and pass with flying colors. And the argument stays the same for the Yankees. There is no upending this roster at this point. The upending of the roster should have been done last offseason. They did it to an extent, and they didn't do enough at this year's trade deadline or at the end of last offseason to give themselves more depth and more insurance. I think last offseason, they did a good job, and they went into the year fairly responsibly, saying, well, we'll diagnose what we need at the trade deadline. And then, 3 things completely went off script with how they were. Devin Williams did not work out at all. Garrett Cole obviously underwent Tommy John surgery. Anthony Volpe was bad again. All factors that were supposed to elevate the team, and they didn't. So when the Yankees went out at the trade deadline and had I guess you could call it, for Yankee standards, a transformative trade deadline, they just acquired a bunch of players that were replacing people who had either no business being on the roster or who had faded to the background, no longer useful. And the only other way the Yankees could have made or done a better job there is by getting actual impact players. I would say that only David Bednar is an impact player that they acquired at the deadline. Everybody else was filler or quote change of scenery candidates, which again, I'm not opposed to. If a decent amount of them had worked out, yeah, I'd be singing a different tune right now. That's the job. If they, oh wow, great trade deadline by Brian Cashman. He got a bunch of change of scenery candidates in here. They all managed to mesh, and clearly it worked out. He identified the right ones. He didn't. And jury's still out. Like, it could also go sideways in 2026, but the Yankees did not do enough. An imperfect piece like Bo Bichette is a luxury addition for a team that has a more complete roster. The Yankees do not. And I think Kyle Tucker is that as well, because again, it's a man who will be playing out of position if he's acquired. Aaron Judge is the right fielder. It's non-negotiable. So at this rate, if you are an optimistic Yankees fan and you see the Cody Bellinger report and you think, oh, okay, the Yankees are going to pivot, you are in for a rude awakening, because they are going to pivot and it's going to be extremely underwhelming. Maybe they get Freddy Peralta, which we'll talk about in a few here, but does that really change everything you think about the Yankees? Not for me. For me, it's edge, it's delivering in the spotlight, it's clutch factor. And I know that there's a semblance of that here, but cohesively there is not. And there's too many holes and there's too many question marks. And there's too much baking in to the next season. Oh, this guy's going to improve. This young player is going to take the leap. It's just hard to quantify that. And the Yankees seemingly miss every time that they try to.
I don't foresee a huge pivot.
What would even the pivot be?
I still think Cody Bellinger is coming back. And I'm curious I'm still curious as to how, like, let's say Bellinger comes back, and I still think he does. How do you use Jason Domínguez in that case? How do you not waste a year of Jason Domínguez's development? Usually these things work themselves out. Like, there are worse things than having a fourth outfielder on the roster who you believe in, because having too many pitchers, right? Eventually you don't have as many pitchers as you did before. And you start the year being like, I don't know how the hell the fourth outfielder is going to get reps. And then someone goes down and the fourth outfielder has to take on a huge role. Same with the rotation. We have 7 starters I trust. This is amazing. Aren't they going to get mad that they're not pitching? Nobody sounds dumber than that person by the end of spring training, by mid-May. I mean, it always happens. So I'm not going to sit here on the podcast and say that bringing Cody Bellinger back would be the death of Jason Domínguez, and keeping around as a fourth outfielder is horrible for his development. I did, in the wake of the Trent Grisham decision, get frustrated by the intentional blockage. And I'm still frustrated by that, because I thought this was a good year to lock down Bellinger long-term, keep Judge locked down long-term. Eventually you might have to transition Judge from right field to first base. That sounds plausible. Maybe Ben Rice is your everyday DH when that happens. Maybe Judge DHs and splits first when Spencer Jones, if he works out, or Dylan Lewis, if he works out. All of a sudden, things make a lot more sense if you have 2 outfield spots locked down, center field available, and plenty of options to cycle through. And maybe one day when someone has to move off an outfield role, you have people you trust, young kids, in their place. So I'm still frustrated about locking in Trent Grisham for just the 1 year and not solving anything beyond this year. But I think there are worse things than having Bellinger in left field semi-permanently and Domínguez as your fourth outfield. I would rather do that, even though I'm frustrated by that development reality, than trade Domínguez. But if there's some, like you said, if people are thinking there's some grand plan, there's a Tucker option, there's a Bichette option. The free agent market has a dearth of these. The reason people are laughing at the Red Sox is because their options after losing Alex Bregman are either splurge on Bo Bichette after they declared themselves unwilling to pay a long-term contract. Bichette is not 30 plus, but he's not 24. So that's an option, but Bichette also has to trust them. They wouldn't give Alex Bregman a no-trade clause. They just traded the face of the franchise in Rafael Devers. They traded the face of the franchise in Mookie Betts. Somebody who is a division rival has to see their money and be like, I believe in your vision for the future, after you just gave a whole bunch of reasons not to believe it. You actually pissed all over them. So that's an option. And then beyond that, it's get extremely creative. Try to trade for Nico Hoerner. And Nico Hoerner, a really good player. He's not Alex Bregman. He doesn't have that reputation. Or throw a ton of money at Eugenio Suarez. Just do, get Marcelo Zuna and just be like, we had to improve the offense. This is what we did. Alex Bregman didn't want our money. What do you want from us? We had to do something. We had to do something is always a bad place to be. Nico Hoerner would be a great fit for the Yankees because he could play shortstop. He could play second base. He's actually technically a rental. But if you like him and you like what you see, you like the table setter, you keep him long-term. He can move all around the infield. Like the Bichette fit, where you're basically saying, Anthony Volpe's not going to have a job when he gets back. Take this half year off, and then come back and play whatever role we have for you, but it's not going to be starter as long as we're healthy. I love the fit, and I think like it's a limited number of options. The Red Sox have this as an option. The Yankees have this as an option, but only if the Cubs want to play ball. And are we sure that the Cubs are going to be trading at anything less than a king's ransom, a key piece of their infield of a World Series contending team? Matt Shaw's the one who might be on the outs. I don't think even in his final year, Nico Hoerner is going to be on the outs. And we heard yesterday morning or afternoon that the Yankees had inquired about him. Great. Inquiring is something you have to do in order to make a trade. But then Chris Kirschner late night said it's going to take a bajillion caliber prospects for the Yankees to acquire Nico Hoerner, and the Cubs aren't particularly interested in moving him. And no kidding. And this morning, everything that came out is highly unlikely that the Cubs move him, which gives the Red Sox fewer options. Haha, but it also gives the Yankees fewer options. Oh no. And that's why all roads seemingly lead back to Bregman until they don't. Because, hey, let Bregman walk. Let somebody else overpay. Like Arizona Diamondbacks were in the comments earlier as a destination. I don't see it because they were hesitant about bringing Bregman on when they still have Ketel Marte on the payroll, and they still have Ketel Marte on the payroll. So I don't think so. But hey, let's say 6 years, $185 million. Arizona comes in with that low tax and his home, and that's where he goes. Totally fine with that. And they bring in Nico Hoerner, and then I'm going, okay, that I actually prefer that to the Bellinger deal, to Bellinger on the roster. I love all of it. But the unlikelihood of that being the way that the chips fall, that somebody outbids the Yankees and that the Yankees convince the Cubs to budge on Hoerner, and then they trade for Hoerner, but it's not a gross overpay, and they're not giving up like, LeGrande Spencer Jones or LeGrande Jason Domínguez and more for Hoerner. They somehow get a semi-discount or fair value on a player the Cubs don't want to give up, and Bellinger gets overpaid elsewhere. It's highly unlikely, and everything we hear is that Hoerner's not moving, and everything we hear is that nobody's topping that Bellinger offer. So it's the best pivot, but it's just as unlikely as Bichette and Tucker.
Everything feels unlikely, but at the same time, the Cubs rumors on Nico Hoerner have existed for a little while, and then they intensified just a bit after Alex Bregman was acquired. I still agree that Matt Shaw is going to be the expendable piece that the Cubs will dangle as, top prospect, got some run with us last year. Like he's got
signing Bregman could be the turning point for Matt Shaw's Cubs.
We don't need our players at those things in the offseason, and I'm sure that the Cubs looked at that and said, oh, we don't need this. We don't want this, and it's better off this way. Nico Hoerner, on the other hand, to me is an extension candidate. I do not know, or do I? I'm on his baseball. Yeah, he is represented by Apex Baseball, so he's not a Boras client. He's not an Ace. What's the other one? CAA. That's
it's
the
close. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if he will be one of those guys just like, I need to get to free agency. I need to make the most money possible. He should be an extension candidate, in my opinion, especially for a team like the Cubs who are trying to sustain this contendership or at least get it off the ground, because they've been in a fairly awkward spot ever since the 2016 season. But for the Yankees, if you need a player of Hoerner's caliber, and I wouldn't be opposed to them like acquiring, you get Bellinger back, you acquire Hoerner, and you acquire Freddy Peralta. And I know that's going to cost a lot via trade, but again, what's the faith in your farm system? If we keep seeing these guys come up and they're topping out or they're not being valued. Jason Domínguez is a really good example of that most recently. He was here, he was up. They didn't really like what they saw. He got demoted fairly quickly and then faded into the background, and that was that. I still think Jason Domínguez has a career ahead of him. I don't know where that is. I don't know what it entails, but he's too young, and he certainly flashed too much talent to just write him off, right? But there are plenty of other Yankees prospects who we don't need to factor into the future of this roster. And that has nothing to do with their talent. It just has to do with the manner in which the Yankees need to operate. So if you have win now trade candidates who you can look, maybe the Cubs are not interested in trading Nico Hoerner. I have no idea. All I'm saying is that the rumors have existed. They're there. So why can't the Yankees overpay for 1 year of Nico Hoerner and then coax him into a contract extension? And then there's your Jazz Chisholm replacement if he walks in free agency next year. Why can't you get Hoerner and Bellinger into the fold? And now you have guys who can rotate all over the infield. Like, no, Jazz will not be the third baseman, but maybe 2 times a month, Jazz is the third baseman on days where you want to switch things up. Like, I don't know. Hoerner can move around. Like you were saying before, Anthony Volpe can get second base reps once he returns, whenever that is, and shows that he's capable of being a part-timer. I literally don't know, but acquiring someone like Hoerner gives you more flexibility, which is what the Yankees need to lean into, because it's either they have flexibility or they have square pegs and round holes. So please just lean on the flexibility if you're going to do that. If you're not going to have true position players at every spot on the diamond, then at least just have a bunch of versatile guys who can do as much as they possibly can, because locking Giancarlo Stanton into the DH spot has not worked for 5 years now. It's never going to work. It's always going to make this lineup. It's going to hold this lineup back in some capacity. You look at, someone like Ryan McMahon, who is a very good third baseman, but might need a platoon partner. Like, you just simply need a starter at third base. First base, is Ben Rice the answer? I hope so. I think so, but we don't know for sure. And there's no backup first baseman behind him. So what are we doing? Always a lot of holes, always a lot of issues, but at the very least, if you can acquire that short-term flexibility and make your team better, no one's going to care if you overpay for a guy who just logged 6.2 WAR. No one's going to care if you overpay for Freddy Peralta, who is an all-star caliber pitcher. No, you're not. Chances are you're not going to have either of these guys after 2026. But you look at the landscape of the league right now. The AL is still open. It's still open. There has not been, outside of the Blue Jays, who you typically take care of on an annual basis. There's not really anybody else who's overly threatening. Yes, the Tigers are good. Yes, the Mariners are good. Yes, the Astros will kind of always exist. Rangers, you never know. And then you have the teams, and you have the Orioles and the Red Sox. But if there was ever a time to capitalize on the momentum over the Red Sox, it's now. You just beat them in a playoff series. Do we hold that in the regard as the same as the DS or the CS? No, we don't. But they still beat them in a playoff series. And now you're watching the Red Sox in complete despair. They staked their claim on Alex Bregman being the replacement for Rafael Devers. And that was the only thing keeping Boston fans from flying off the handle after he was traded. Mm-hmm. Because they could justify that in the moment. Okay, they did this. They really made a fucked up move. They traded this guy. They treated him poorly. They didn't communicate with him like that. Objectively not good by any standard, but at least they have this guy who's perfectly fit for our ballpark, is ostensibly the leader in the clubhouse, is cultivating this younger talent, is getting them ready for the big leagues, and plays the position that Rafael Devers played. Okay, now I can deal with that. Gone after a year. No solution for third base. So Red Sox fans are once again in a position where they don't trust their leadership, and they're feeling worse and worse about their team, when it should be an exciting time because they have a lot of good young players. Roman Anthony coming back for a full season in 2026 is going to be nightmarish for the Yankees. But guess what? They don't have the Alex Bregman padding in the lineup anymore. So the Red Sox are now going to be, unless the Red Sox have other moves up their sleeves, I don't know what that would be at this point, but they're clearly not paying big money to star players. They are going to have to bank on all of their younger talent taking the next step. And we know the odds of that happening are slim, because it does not work out for a majority of teams out there. And even for a team like the Dodgers, who you would say, oh, well, their prospects usually hit. The Dodgers discard way more top prospects than they do see them pan out. They trade a ton more top prospects than they see make the major league roster and have an impact. So the Red Sox are in a precarious position right now. And if the Yankees really want to leverage the shred of momentum they have over them right now, it's making whatever moves the short-term moves, make a couple of big trades. If you have to go that extra $3 million AAV on Bellinger, go ahead and do it. If Kyle Tucker is open to taking a shorter-term deal, consider it. Am I the biggest fan of all of these players? No. Again, my preferred off seasons were the last 4 years. Missed them. Didn't get to enjoy any of them really. Didn't get any of the players that I really wanted for this team. Most Yankee fans didn't. But now, if you want to capitalize on 2026, how good would it be to win a World Series in 2026 right before the lockout? Then you can kick back, relax. Aaron Judge has his ring. You have your cigars. You're standing atop Major League Baseball while this labor dispute's going on, while these other teams are scrambling, trying to figure out their future. No, you did it. You're allowed to take the breather now that you have a championship. So I don't know why this isn't more of the team's focus. I don't know why there's not more aggression here. And again, maybe there is behind closed doors. But with everything we're hearing about the Bellinger situation, with the on and off discourse regarding these other trade rumors, I just don't know if they are being, I don't think they are being aggressive. And that's reason for worry because I don't know how much longer this window has. And if they're looking to just like punt 2026 in a sense to say, oh, we'll see what happens in 2027, you're going to lose 2 years. 2 years are gone. 2027's gone. Consider it done.
That is why all of this posturing and all this talk about potential pivots and things the Yankees could do if they don't bring Bellinger in, and we're poo-pooing all of them. We're poo-pooing all of them for good reason because they don't feel real. They don't feel aligned. They don't feel plausible. Yeah. The one thing that is an impact move that they could do that I actually believe they might do is a Freddy Peralta trade. And, hey, if we're leaving everyone with a good taste in their mouth, it's a weird day in the Freddy Peralta discourse machine. Because last week, when Edward Cabrera went to the Cubs, we heard that the Yankees were engaged on Peralta. And earlier in the last Sunday, it sounded like the Yankees were moving closer on Cabrera, keeping Peralta the rental in the periphery. Then they didn't get Cabrera. That deal fell apart. He goes to Chicago. They pay the price. His elbow checks out according to their evaluation. Now, you're again, just because an insider mentions someone does not mean that a trade is close to happening, going to get done. But one thing you learn as you become more media literate is that if a Yankees insider is writing a column about one specific person as a perfect fit, they're not just doing it on pure speculation. They're not just looking at the landscape of players and going, oh, I haven't written about how Freddy Peralta would be a good fit in a while. This is a good week to do that. Let me do that. They're doing it because they're hearing enough that it feels worthwhile to discuss the fit. And Chris Kirschner did it this morning. And this whole time, look, he doesn't help the offense. And he's not Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette. He's not Nico Hoerner. The Yankees still have issues if they do trade for Freddy Peralta. But this whole time, I could not help but feel like his price was going to be lower than what people were selling to me. Mm-hmm. It's a rental, and he's in a market of Mackenzie Gores and Joe Ryans and Edward Cabreras and Shane Baz. And the amount of prospects and the caliber of prospects teams are surrendering for pitchers who are middling at best, 4.4 ERA guys with years of control, those packages are downright terrifying. Peralta is a one-year guy. You have to pay through the nose if you're competing with everyone at the trade deadline. I understand that. There's nothing scarier than overpaying for 2 months of a pitcher. You're going to get a better deal on a rental if you trade for him now than if you trade for him at the deadline. The competition knows exactly what they need at the deadline. Right now, they're not sure. They might be like what we feel like the Yankees are doing right now, where they're saying, we like our rotation. You know, Ashley Padilla on SNL with the bad haircut. I like it. We like our rotation. Like, it's not, no, I mean, you shouldn't. But there are teams out there right now that like their rotation. And there are teams at the deadline that might be like, we were wrong. We desperately need a number 2. We need it so bad. We're going crazy. Right now, there's competition, but there's not that intense level of competition. Corbin Burns, 2 offseasons ago, the Yankees should have traded for him, and they didn't. That package was Joey Ortiz and DL Hall, a top 100 prospect, a glove first prospect on the Orioles, and a lefty. Now that was really light, and that sounds lighter by the damn day. But Freddy Peralta for control, almost a rerun of the Devin Williams trade, like a controllable pitcher instead of a free agent pitcher. Nestor Cortez had only 1 year. A controllable pitcher and a top Yankees prospect should get it done. And in my opinion, it should be a 2-player package. It feels like it. Maybe not. But I feel like you could get a 2-player package out and get yourself 1 year Freddy Peralta, whether you extend him or not. Matthew Trueblood today on Brewer Fanatic went as far as to say sources, Brewers moving toward Freddy Peralta trade with Yankees in lead, saying that multiple teams remain involved, but the Yankees have emerged as the most likely fit with 2024 American League Rookie of the Year, Luis Gil, as the headliner in that potential package. Now, do you believe that? Do you disbelieve that? That is up to you. That is up to me. I'm certainly not believing it at face value. I'm not calling my dad, telling him the Yankees are in the lead. Also, if you're in the lead for trade talks, the team could just look at your offer and outbid you. So it kind of means absolutely nothing. But it does seem as it, Chris Kirchner's column paired with this one, it does seem like the Yankees are seriously talking to the Brewers about Freddy Peralta. Degree of seriousness TBD, but they are actually talking to the Brewers about Freddy Peralta. And then, look, in my opinion, I go far enough and say if you want Will Warren, you want controllable Will Warren, a guy who is a lot like Shane Baz to me, a guy with this tantalizing stuff, and everyone feels like they can unlock him, but right now he's still a 4.4 ERA guy. I would say if you're skittish about Luis Gil being in this deal, you don't believe his peripherals, you hate the walk rate, you can have Will Warren. I will do that for you. And I will give you Dylan Lewis as well, the upper echelon center field prospect with helium, who was supposed to be in that rumored Edward Cabrera trade. I will do that. I will give you those two pieces. I will give you, if you think Luis Gil's a downgrade on Warren, I'll put Spencer Jones in the trade instead of Dylan Lewis. I will do that for you.
Okay.
I will do both of those things for you. I don't think I would go any further. I really twist my arm. I would consider Gil and Carlos Legrand, I guess. But if I get a chance to trade Will Warren or Luis Gil plus one top prospect for Freddy Peralta, I'm doing it. I really don't think the price is going to be that much more expensive. I don't think this is going to be that uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I am. Do I believe it? I mean, yeah, I do. The Yankees have made trades with the Brewers before and have been in trade talks with the Brewers for the last 2 to 3 years. And I think that the Yankees have attractive younger talent that the Brewers like, as evidenced with Caleb Durbin. And the Yankees don't necessarily there's not no need for Luis Gil, but clearly the Yankees have 4 people in the rotation that are better than him. So it just becomes a surplus. And the 3 years of control that Gil has are far more valuable to a franchise like the Brewers than they are to the Yankees, especially when the Yankees have years of control over these big free agents. And they also have a young pitcher in Cam Schlittler that they're going to utilize there. And then in this scenario, you keep Will Warren, you have another pitcher with control, or Warren becomes another piece in maybe a Nico Hoerner deal. I don't know, but the Yankees have enough depth at this point in certain areas of the roster and their farm system where they could just start leverage. To me, it doesn't matter if you need to contend in 2026 and you're looking at the board right now, the options are Freddy Peralta, Nico Hoerner, and then keep Cody Bellinger and then figure out the bullpen at the trade deadline again. And I don't think that trading for Hoerner and Peralta are really going to cost you an arm and a leg. Like the Cubs, they need pitching. I know they just got Edward Cabrera, but you look at their rotation year over year, and one, someone's going to get injured in 2026 because that's simply how it works. And two, the group did not do well and is a lot of higher upside. So I think Will Warren plus other things would be a great get for the Cubs in that deal if they were actually looking to trade Nico Hoerner. Again, I don't understand why they would trade Nico Hoerner, but we also kind of didn't understand why they were trading Cody Bellinger last offseason. Did you? They replaced Cody Bellinger with Kyle Tucker for 1 year, and then they said, don't need Kyle Tucker anyway, after they had just gotten a really good year out of Bellinger, and they got the year before was really good out of Bellinger, but they could have gotten they went to the playoffs. They could have had just as good of a team, and Bellinger's a pretty good postseason performer, and Kyle Tucker is not. So I don't know. The Cubs have done weird things, and they continue to do weird things. So the Yankees just need to find a lane and need to be aggressive. And if it's not free agency, that's fine. But trade market, it's got to happen. And you have a lot of prospects right now. You have a lot of pitchers. helium attached to them. A lot of high upside, a lot of guys that these scouts like. Leverage that and use it because you have young guys that you have 3 young guys on the roster right now in Heel, Warren, and Schlittler who could weather the storm while you empty the top out of the farm system now. Or you trade 2 of those guys and then you bring these other ones in. Like, I don't know what it is, but it can't keep going on for much longer because they need to make moves.
I'm looking at the Cubs lineup from last year. Just everybody's over 3 WAR. Like, it just sucks.
Yeah, everybody.
The Yankees acting like they don't need to improve their lineup. Like, what I wouldn't give to watch the Cubs lineup. Our rotation in the Cubs lineup. Does that team win 130 games? I'd like to see it. I probably won't get a chance to, but I would like to see it. And this is all we got for now. But again, Pandora's box is open. And it might just result in the box being closed and the Yankees giving Cody Bellinger the box and being like, thank you for returning. Here is your box. I don't know. But at the very least, we have things. We have angles to discuss. Whether we have pivots or not, we have angles. And that's something. We're not just sitting here in day 54 of a Cody Bellinger standoff. I still think he comes, truth serum. I still think Cody Bellinger comes back to the Yankees. But we don't have to sit here and just count down the days. We can at least listen to the Yankees and listen to the public negotiating and pretend like there's more out there. That's a nice offseason gift. Now, if we get to opening day or if we get to spring training and Bellinger's elsewhere and the Yankees have not pivoted or made any noteworthy additions and it's just the team from last year but with no Cody Bellinger, then you'll hear from us here on the Yanks Go Yard podcast. We'll be right here.
Right here.
That will be worse. That will be bad. That is possible, and it will be bad. And then we'll get to examine the Bellinger price, and we'll talk about how shitty it feels that this is the last season before the lockout. Winning a World Series this year before the lockout looming would just be so valuable. They need to see that. We'll see if they do. I'm Adam Weiner. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weiner at Yanks Go Yard podcast, YouTube channel, Mondays and Thursdays, 2 o'clock Eastern. We stream. We're on your favorite podcast platforms afterwards. Thank you for joining us here if it's your first time. If you're coming back, I see some returning names in the comments. Appreciate you all. That is where you can find me. If you want to make me the Jared Carrabis totem of the New York, you're doing it anyway. When the Yankees are bad, you're coming to me anyway. So maybe at least I would get to enjoy the spoils of the Yankees being good. I'm not saying I want to be on that float, but I'm just saying maybe I should be cockier. Maybe I should really be in your face.
Do it.
To Red Sox fans. I kind of am, though, already. But maybe I should even turn it up another notch or two. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
I am at Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard account. That is at Yanks Go Yard FS. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Easiest thing you can do all day, and it would be a big favor to us. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. That's where all the written content is, us and our team of writers. Everything up-to-date Yankees, everything you need to know that we're not discussing on this podcast, and there's plenty of it, is there for you to read. Reading's good. It's healthy. It's productive. Please do it. And as for the comments, the Pirates are not trading Paul Skeens. Not worth talking about on the show because then people will clip it and yell at us. I don't want to be yelled at unless it's for something worth it, and this is not worth it. So, there will be no trade package for Paul Skeens. Yankees are going to have to get more creative than that. And like I said, do it now.
Do it now or before Thursdays if we could talk about it. We'll see you then. Thank you so much for joining us.